Hello everyone and welcome to the EVN Disrupt podcast. My name is Nejdet Zaturyan and I'm the editor of the Creative Tech section here at EVN Report. Today my guest was Albert Poghosyan, the founder and chief dean of BuildUp Bootcamp, an educational program that prepares junior and mid-level professionals for more senior roles in the tech industry in Armenia. We spoke about Albert's experience in the education space, how they have designed their project-based curriculum, and what outcomes they are seeing with their first cohort of students. Thank you for listening. Albert, thank you so much for joining us. Let's start with a little bit of your background and your experience in Armenia's education sector. I've often heard that you're the person who was responsible for setting the foundations of project management education in Armenia. Can you tell us a little bit about that story and what you were able to achieve?
Yeah, absolutely. I graduated in Armenia. Actually, I'm a quite Armenian Yerevansi in third generation. So I studied in UK. It was a Chevening scholarship. And that's where I started thinking, okay, I got this $100,000 US grant. Mm-hmm. What I'm going to do for Armenia, like going back, because I was studying e-governance, like I wasn't thinking at the time that it will work in Armenia.
Yeah.
So I studied a little bit more on project management and came back. It was 2007. It was early days of outsourcing starting in Armenia heavily, and many projects was failed. And I was thinking, okay, so I'm coming back. I need to do something about it. So I started teaching at American University, then Slavonic University, and then just public seminars and trainings. And what happened, I understood that there's no actual problem accessing information in English or in Armenia. There's like plenty of information, plenty of education. There was a problem that people do not see it as a popular specialty. There was no popularization of project management.
Right.
And that's when I started like, okay, so this is interesting. Let's see how we can change that. So there was 200 project managers with title on LinkedIn in Armenia at the time. So I filtered them out. I asked them, would you come and create an organization together? So we popularize it. And that's what we did. 2007, 2008, and 2009, we were just talking about project management and just, hey, this is very simple and easy, and you should learn that. And just for you to understand what happened, I teach from 2007, 2012, so just 5 years. I had over 2,500 students. I did a calculation recently. And what happened in reality in the KPIs, when I started, there was no licensed project manager. It wasn't popular at all. Right. I started teaching the first ones and like people started getting it. And now there's like a 285 licensed PMPs in Armenia. Mm-hmm. And that's a huge number for a small country like this.
PMP is the official internationally recognized standard for...
It's a license. It's called
Project Management
Professional. Yeah. That's very
simple.
Simple. It's very popular. Mm-hmm. I guess this was a very good experiment and a very successful educational project. Like not only teaching the project management, and I prepared and I published the book in Armenian, and I did TOT, like trained trainers for the project management. But also it was kind of like, how do you popularize things? How people start recognizing like this knowledge is not just a bullshit. It's like actually used knowledge, and you have to learn it.
Yeah. And those 2,500 people that you taught yourself, was that all through AUA?
No, it's like all, I trained myself only 200 corporate trainings, like literally all of the big companies, starting from like a Konyaki Gorzan, finishing all IT industry. And people actually appreciate it. Up to now, they said like, Albert, like I was on your trainings, and it's helped me this and that.
It's awesome. What's the one thing that you've noticed that has changed from what the training and education culture was like back then and what it's like today? Not just in project management, but more generally in Armenia.
I think like many things change on actually licensing and certifications. Like back then, it was like, oh yeah, I'll get this new certificate.
Right.
Like, ooh. And I was always like, no, you don't care about certificates. You need like really knowledge. You need to go and implement it. Nowadays, a demand for knowledge. Like literally people starting in BuildUp, less asking about certificate, even though they do, but like less asking about what certificate I get is more of like what I can do, what I can learn. Actually be more successful and more effective in the future. And that's a very good notion, I guess, in Armenia.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great change that you've observed. Let's move on to the tech education landscape. Can you paint the picture of what tech education is like in Armenia today and yeah, let's start with your evaluation of it, and then we'll dive deeper.
Actually, a lot of things changed. Like there's the ACA who's doing really a lot of very good, high quality products, and I really support them. Asking everyone, and literally one year I was like, whenever I said to GG, I was asking the driver, why don't you go and learn programming? And everybody's like, no, what, programming? Never, I can't do that. And I'm like, no, man, like, call this guy with this phone number, tell them Albert told you, and you get it. And I knew nobody there, and I was always referring to them. But actually, the things changed. There's a lot of very good education in Armenia right now. I think like there's at least 11 very good educational initiatives or companies who provide very good high quality trainings.
These are all outside of universities.
This is all outside of universities. Like, I'm not even mentioning universities, but basically it's all of like an intensive, very focused, very good design programs. Unfortunately, not all of them having a good quality instructors and tutors, and that's kind of very important at the education. Like you obviously can read yourself and do some of the tasks on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
But you need instructors who can understand you, who can really hack on and like try to understand your really the actual learning path for every person, and it's different. Somebody's going really quick and somebody's much slower, so the tutors can actually adopt the knowledge to your path. And that's what I believe is missing a high quality education, not in sense of like the quality of knowledge or materials, but in the sense of the quality of the trainers. And that's, I believe, is what we need to change right now.
Do we have any idea of how many people enter the tech sector in Armenia every year thanks to those programs?
I hardly can estimate that. And I don't think anyone is doing any research on that topic. But
even percentage-wise, we don't know?
No, I don't know. But there's obviously university numbers. And it's like a couple thousand every year. Unfortunately, the number of those students graduating is so low. And it's so low quality. So whenever you interview those students, you were amazed, like, what you were doing for years. Like, you didn't have any computers around? Like, couldn't you just do one project and show me now? And obviously that's a lack of like a actual instructional and an actual focus on effectiveness rather than just theories in general. So that's main. But again, there's a big number right now. Overall, IT or technology in Armenia, I believe is 20,000 people. That's the number registered on LinkedIn.
20,000 tech professionals in Armenia.
For example, excluding all accountants in those companies, excluding all operational people, like only like developers or marketing people, like focusing on actual products. So 20,000. And out of those 20,000, I believe very vast majority is junior or mid-level. And a lot of people having title of senior. Unfortunately, that's not the real senior people. Unfortunately, having like 10 years of experience doesn't make you senior automatically. And that's a big problem.
So the quality of professional that you are as well.
Exactly. But not also quality, like how they advance in their career. Are they even pointing and aiming to have a career? But because you can obviously have a nice bus driver, and that person do not means like he can drive president one day, right? So that's the difference here.
We often hear about there's this gap in the market and that there's all these jobs that need to be filled. Do we know what that type of demand is? Like, do we have numbers about that?
Those numbers are very, very vivid because they publish on different platforms and you can count. I believe there was like some days there was like a couple thousand open positions. And right now, I believe it's like a little bit even more. The good thing is that a lot of Russians moved to Armenia right now and fulfilled some of the positions. And a lot of them are moving as well because like there's a big companies opening offices here and a lot of Russians. It's very good incorporated into our system. But again, like those Russians are not going to stay for long. And we need to learn and use this situation rather than, like just thinking of, how lucky we are.
Yeah, they're just going to stay because they don't have anywhere else to go. Let's get to BuildUp now. How the idea came about for BuildUp. Why did you decide to start this initiative?
That's exactly why we started this, because I saw that there's a gap in education and I can't hire people anymore in Armenia. easily hiring in India or in Ukraine,
Yeah.
but not in Armenia because of exactly that situation. When you build products, you need people who you don't need to babysit every day. You need people who will focus and solve the problems, right? And that's what we're lacking right now. And that's why we're not developing more than just outsourced country. Because there is no education who will allow those people who already have some of experience. I'm not saying like from zero. Obviously, it's very hard, and we need to change the whole education system from schools and universities. That's have to be done there. But we already have some people who figured it out, who already became and a specialist, I'm not saying professional, a specialist who are solving some of the problems. Unfortunately, I call this mindset of people who are there, and this is not Armenian problem. This is all over the world.
It's a global problem.
Yes. I call them Asayin Chanem Onem mindset. Tell me what to do, I'll do it mindset.
Right.
And this is normal, like everywhere in the world, like the Indians would be this level. But even in India, education changed rapidly. And right now, there's a lot of people actually moving to US and becoming a top specialist and top, even CEOs. Some of the big companies are Indians.
Yes.
And this is because in India, they understood, we can't move forward like this. It's not going to work. And some of the Indian universities are top rated right now because of that. They are teaching a problem solving. They are teaching critical thinking. And that's kind of the importance. And here in Armenia, BuildUp's mission is to change our economy structure, where outsource focused economy, we want to change it to the product focused economy. This is pretty much the mission of the organization.
Okay, so you identified this problem in Armenia's education model that was mostly about give me these tasks to do and I will accomplish these tasks. And you identified that we need to move away from this to a problem solving model, you're saying. Okay, what's a tangible example of that? Directly in the method of education, how do you teach someone to think critically and do a more problem-solving method than just finishing these tasks?
Actually, that question is a $200 million question, and obviously I don't know the answer right now. But we are experimenting on one of interesting model that we found, and I did research. First I started asking around with CEOs, my friends I know from Armenia, what's your problem? Tell me what actually because it's less problem of the specialists right now in the market and more problem of people who create products, right? Because if they want to create successful product, it's their problem, not that Asayin Chanem Onem people's problem.
Right.
And then I start asking, what's the actual lacking from these people? And that's when they told me actual critical thinking is lacking and actual problem solving is lacking. And that's where I started thinking, okay, what kind of education can solve this?
Yeah.
Is there any good research on education? Is there any good findings? And turns out there's a very interesting research from Stanford University where they found that problem-based education is twice more effective. And there's another very interesting model from Main Street University from Netherlands. They found literally coming from the practical point, right? You need to train 5 people to work on a brain surgery. Brain surgery is super complex. You need 5 different types of medical surgeons to work on the same brain while it's open.
Right.
And they have to very coordinated. It's a short time, very pressure, high stress environment, and so on, so on, so on.
Yeah.
And basically, when they found that actually working together and learning together helps them to become very, very professional. And obviously in surgery, you need to practice a lot before someone will allow you to actually execute that in reality, right? And that's where they found this problem-based education. And that's actually a very interesting model. Literally, problem-based education divided into the part when you give someone the task and then you teach them how to do the task. I actually never discussed this before because every time I was discussing the methodology, I was like, okay, this is too hard. Nobody will really understand.
Get into it.
But it's come down to one principle. Actually, giving someone the practical task doesn't necessarily mean that person become a professional doing that practical task. There's a lot of education in Armenia, all over the world also, where they partner with big corporations, and big corporation gives them the task and they do it. But unfortunately, that's not working that way. Because when somebody is taking the task and doing somewhat somehow, it's still not making these people to understand what they're doing. They're just executing something without understanding deeply what's actually solving the problem. So we designed this methodology, which we took from Main Street University, and we designed it in a new way where every education, while they study, and it's 16 weeks education in our case, every tutor gives them actually the knowledge in a sequence of the way that is like a product development lifecycle works. So basically every product, a digital product we're talking here, works in a cycles. Like you do this and that in very specific steps. And that education knowledge that actually they learn in any specialty match to that development lifecycle. So literally this week you learn something that you need this week on your product.
Right.
And it's not just the topic run, it's more of like what task you need to do to solve that problem on that stage and what knowledge you need. So basically it's an online education where you get all of the materials, but you have also a tutor who is also a coach type tutor. So he actually tell you like, hey, this is like a cool way to approach this problem, or this is a methodology we use, or this is new technologies or new tools we use.
Yeah.
But also think of this, like there's like a task or assignment or something that will help you actually to adopt to that life cycle. So basically, whatever you learn this week, you need it, not because like you need to remember something or you need to learn it by heart, but because it's on your hand right now. You have to solve a very complex task.
Right. Let's talk about this idea of training juniors and mid-level professionals to become senior professionals. So for those who don't know, a junior or mid-level professional is typically someone in the tech sector that has up to 5 years of experience. And then after 5 years, if they've succeeded in their career, they graduate to become a senior professional. So this is the problem that you guys are specifically working on. And I often hear from Armenian startups that we have difficulty finding senior talent. And the reason why startups put such a heavy emphasis on senior talent is because they need senior talent in order to supervise junior talent, right? So how do you guys tackle this problem of teaching people to become seniors through an educational program, a training program, rather than just years of experience on the job?
It's a very good question. Yeah. Actually, a lot of people who we tell them like, hey, you should apply, they are like, no. I already have the senior people teaching me in my everyday work. Right. I have project, I have team, and I have everything what I need. But that's basically what we did research on early on. Actually, becoming a senior, it takes 3 to 5 years to learn from your seniors, if the seniors are willing to share something with you. And that's a very important question. Are they? Is this working very well? And what I found is very few companies in Armenia who promote this development actually. And that's where I believe we have a big problem. Some of the companies do not want their employees to develop. Why? Because they pay a very low salary right now. If the person become like mid or senior, they have to pay them 3 times more or 5 times more sometimes. And that's a kind of issue. They are not interested in that development. They do a lot of training programs and stuff, which very outdated, not working anymore, not really practical. And that's a big problem. I believe many companies in Armenia, they have a head number. And this is very cool for them because they are willing to grow really quick. They want to show 200, 300 people working for them. Doesn't matter what quality, right? But they want to show it. And they want to pay as less as possible, which is like an economy, right? Unfortunately, that is not helping the whole economy in Armenia to grow because big companies are not interested. They actually grow. And that's a big issue right now.
Let's go through the process from start to end of one of your students applying to the program and all the way till them graduating from the program. Let's start with the application procedure. What type of applicants are you looking for?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a good question. You started the previous question was that what is a meet, right? We actually tell them like we are looking for a meet. Unfortunately, in Armenia, meet means like 1-2 years of experience. And we keep like whatever people talk about it. Like, okay, you tell that meet, we tell that meet too, like no problem. And the idea is this, like, unfortunately, in our education, because it's like quite complex and quite rapid and intense, you need some of the experience working already to be able to study in our education. And that's like a 1 or 2 years experience. It doesn't matter if you are super advanced or like early on, if you have done some work in that industry, like if you're a backend developer or marketing, if you have worked, that's enough for us. And that's what we are targeting here. We're targeting mid-level people with experience to go through a selection process, which is 3-step selection process. First is a multiple choice questions. We use CodeSignal or some other tools to select people who already have some knowledge. Then second step is an interview, but it's very interesting. We removed all the biases from interview. We don't have a board. We don't have any like a special people selecting anyone. We have one person who is a psychologist who don't understand anything about technology or hiring or HR or any other things. We have a list of questions for each specialties, like different questions, but we don't even score the questions. We score a different requisites, different requirements for that program. So for developers, it's more of like a focusing on task, being open to learn new technologies, being open to work in a team, and for other specialties too. So basically, the whole design of the program, and third step is about deep knowledge test. So we give you 4 different problems and you need to solve them by typing in your thoughts. Like now it's not about like a just multiple choice or interviewing. It's more of like, hey, here's the problem for you, how you will solve it. Write it down so we see your way of thinking. And then both tutor and we have a dean for each program score it. So basically, we have even 2 score for the last section. All of the selection is scored. Okay. What does it mean? Like you get 1 score at the beginning for the first step. Then the second step, you can be cutted because of the attitude. So, for example, if psychologists find that this person is not good suit for our program,
not motivated.
You will not go to the third stage. But if you got the enough score for the second stage, then you go to the third stage where you already get a proper score, the final score. And what we do at the end, we have a list where all of our trustees and members will see this list, and we offer the top 12 people or 10 people the position in our education. So basically, if somebody out of the 10 says like, no, I can't do it for some reason, we'll just go lower. And that's kind of the old model of score-based.
Yeah. What are the different categories of professions you guys have right now?
Yes, we have 6 programs right now, which is product management, product design, digital marketing, B2B sales, full stack, and backend. So basically 2 developer professions, 2 marketing and sales professions, like promoting, selling products, and 2 designing professions, like a product manager and product design. And this is bare minimum you need to design a product. Right. So that's why we started with 6.
Right. I'm curious. So for the engineering roles, I understand like what type of problems you would give them in the interview procedure to evaluate them. What do you give someone, for example, for the product management category?
We give them a problem, a real life problem, and they have to actually describe how they will solve it. Okay. This is coming from tutors, so we asked every tutor to design those questions specifically. Yeah. And then they gave also the scoring mechanism. Right. So we scored it properly.
Right. Okay. So once they get admitted, what's the coursework look like? How are they learning?
So once they get admitted, we separate them into the team. So each team, 6 people, we design it in a specific way. We give them a psychology test. We analyze their experience, in professional experience, and we design a team. And now the team selects the problem and how the problem comes. So we have over 100 people joining into the community and being a trustee, paying a small fee every month to support the school, but having a very specific benefit. So one of the benefits is that one. Those trustees come with real life problems. Like some example of it, like me and you have to select the time to do this interview, right? You can offer the time, I can offer the time, and then we will go for the couple weeks of discussing. Right. But I gave you one link, which is Calendly, and you selected from my calendar, which was open date and time for me. Yeah. That type of the problem would be a very specific problem. So it's problem, whenever you actually solve it with Excel sheet and formulas, it's a great indication that might be a small problem for our school. So what we did, we get all those trustees and support community, but also we asked them to create the problems. And they did. We had over 28 problems in our selection list. So then students with the 6 teams, we do some team building, we give them some tasks to play around, but then they select the problem they want to work for 4 months. And that's when they start thinking how they will solve it. And that's when they get to the tutors, and then they work with tutors to plan everything, to design everything. We have program managers, we have agile coach, we have people who will support them over that time.
Sorry, just before we get to the tutors, those teams that they gather in the team, there's a product manager, there's an engineer, there's
every specialty
from each of your
exactly.
categories. Oh, it's very cool.
And also they get mentor. Who are the mentors? So one person who offered that problem from the community, they actually, when they select the problem, they come to that person and it's like, hey, we got this, we found this problem interesting. We have this idea of solving it in mind. Would you accept us?
Right.
And then the person becoming a mentor for them says like, okay, tell me this and that, and do some interviews back and forth, and then become officially their mentor. So that's how the program works. So they have a mentor as well, giving them direction, because this person understands the problem, understand the customer, helping them actually to get there.
So do the tutors have, do they lecture?
And that's a very good question. There is no lecturing in the school.
Okay.
Basically, you have all the material there, you have to read it, and then you chat with the tutor. So chatting is about like, hey, how to discover this solution or this problem or this methodology for your product. Here's some templates. You go and do that. Here's some tasks you need to do just to get more professional in this. An idea of this communication is that you don't need to be lectured on anything because you're, first of all, already mid-level, so you should be already know that. But if you don't, like, just read this one and then start thinking on your products. And it's working. Students are super happy about it. They have only one day in communicating with tutors about that topic of the week, but also what they have, and you remember I said like tutors are coaching as well. Yeah, they have office hours. So whenever I don't know what to do or how to move forward or what I'm doing wrong, they select the time with tutor, they chat with them and explain them what's the problem, and tutor gives them like exactly what to do with the product. And that's kind of the importance here. It's not just like a, hey, you have to learn this and thank you, bye, but it's like, hey, you have to implement this this way.
What's the commitment like every week? How many hours do the students spend working on this?
It's a very good question, and that's a basic problem because students still works. So it's the evening program. Right. And the commitment is that they have to communicate with the tutors every week for like 2-3 hours. That's the maximum they will communicate. But also, what we ask them to come to office like 4 days per week. So only Tuesday they don't come because on Tuesday they have this communication with tutors. So it's 4 days per week when they come meet their team, pretty like a actual working. Yeah. They work with a team, and actually they stay up to like 1-2 hours. Sometimes they stay very late as well, and that's kind of like a team spirit. And the first 1 month we are very, very strict on this. Like, you have to come, you have to become a team, you have to get that bond. For us, that's the most important, because after you get that bond, it's very hard to break them apart. So that's kind of our main task at the beginning. And we kind of succeeded. Only out of the 36 students, only 2 dropped out. And it was like different reasons.
So you had 36 students for this first cohort that you've launched. So that's 6 teams, right? Can you give some examples of what projects they're working on right now?
Yeah. Also, and that's the most interesting. It's very, very different problems, starting from tourism, finishing with healthcare. And it's all of them very, very fascinating. For example, one of them is like audio streaming with context. So imagine this podcast, right? An educational podcast, and we're talking about, and somebody is listening. But also, like, there's some terms and some ideas that they are not familiar with, right? What do? You stop it, you go Google it, if you guess it right? And then you spend a lot of time. But imagine, like, all of the podcasts come with good narratives and a lot of tools. Like, when you click on the word, it will show you, like, a Wikipedia article or any other tools and articles and knowledges where you can really easily grasp.
Yeah.
This one is specific for education. Like you're reading about, I don't know, chemicals and physics. It's always something new and always some new terminology you never heard of. It's very, very useful. This is one of the problem students are tackling. Another one, for example, a bucket list. Like how you actually make a bucket list. I'm planning for Rome this year, right? What will be my visit look like, where I want to go? And right now we use a lot of different like social medias, Instagram or Pinterest, and how you make the bucket list from all of the different places.
Yeah.
And this is another problem, or a very practical problem for the meat companies or serve companies. You have a 10 customers and you never know which one is the most profitable for you. And it's a tool for actually measuring profitability per customer or per contract. And that's another problem that we are solving right now.
Yeah, very cool. I was just thinking when you were explaining the problems that they're solving is it could even turn out that one of these teams, instead of trying to find work as a senior engineer or a senior product manager, they end up spinning out a startup from their BuildUp experience.
It's very lucky, though we are not focusing on startups. And we're not teaching pitching or financing or investing.
It's not your focus.
Absolutely not. All of our focus is you have to make a MVP.
Right.
Why? Because you have to go to Product Hut at the end of the program, get the real customers, and your actual results is based on the feedback from the customers.
Right.
So it's not even like a jury saying, oh, this one was good or this one was bad. Who cares? If the customer pays you and they subscribe, that's it, man. Like you did it. You created a good product.
Yeah.
And that's a real measure in life. No juries, no important guys giving you investment is important because they do mistakes.
Yeah.
Customers never. If you solve that problem, customers subscribe and keep working on it, keep using it.
Yeah.
That's
fantastic. I didn't know that they launched on Product Hunt later. As they wrap up the program, the total program is 16 weeks. Do you guys help them with job search, or do they or is the idea for them to be promoted within their existing companies?
For us, doesn't matter. And it's a very good point to come to talking about income share agreements as well, because we are not paid if they are not successful.
Right. So the students do not pay anything to participate.
Absolutely
in
not.
The program.
So they sign a contract where there's two fields in the contract. One is current income, and then there's an income goal.
Okay.
So we write down what's your current income, and then there's an income goal, which is like literally 60% more, or some like around that percent more. And idea is this: like we guarantee that this person become a problem solver and a critical thinker. So anyone willing to hire them, or the even the same company willing to give them a better job, will really think about like how they can use these people to build something successful. And what I believe in Armenia, if you can't pay more, like 50% to your employer, you are doing a wrong business here.
Right.
Like I personally do not have any problem hiring someone with 3 million dirham monthly salary if this person giving me that boost in my product that will give me bigger revenue, right? That's always good. And those professionals are those ones like actually will give you those boosts. Like will solve real life problems, will try to be more growth hacking and so on and so on. And that's why our focus is not on like having a nice certificate, but it's like how we present you to the community.
Right.
And how they follow you.
Yeah.
So what we do weekly reports on every person. They have OKRs, which is like a Google's way of like a KPI-driven development, but OKR is much easier and much cooler. It's like a result-driven. And then every week they said, oh, this week we're doing this OKRs. And then they report every Monday what's their actual results. And we report it transparently to community. And we don't match anyone. If this person, anyone from community, which is our top CEOs in our community, willing to hire that person, he will just follow the whole report and then invite for the interview. And that's it. We do not go for a hunt from anyone.
Right.
We don't do like a HR or any other job for them. We give a report.
And some of Armenia's biggest startups are involved in or supporters of BuildUp.
Exactly.
So if someone is participating in BuildUp's educational program, they have a shot at landing a job at one of these
exactly
these startups.
And that's also our promise to students. This is not a program.
Right.
This is actually you finding a better job
Right.
with a better, more satisfying product making.
Right.
If
Right.
you're in outsourcing, why don't you just stop doing that, like Assign Chanemanem,
Right.
and like go for something more satisfying? And maybe one day you can build something yourself. Right? Because now you know A to Z product development. And this is very key importance here. You can go work for Google and you can never build one product because you will do a small task in a big organization. But here you learn in 6 people's team, and it was a luxury to fail this completely. But you can learn from A to Z how the app products are built. And then somebody hiring you, you know the whole process. And then you can come and suggest, like, guys, you're doing this wrong way. You should be doing this and that to figure it out and to sell it, not like to push it or, you know. That's basically the idea here. You become a one level higher professional because you saw it like A to Z, all the product making.
Right. Okay. Let's get to the income sharing agreement part of the program. So as you said, when someone joins your program, you define what their salary is now. Let's say it's $1,000, and you set a target for what their income should be. And you said it's about 60%, so let's say $1,600. After graduating from your program, once they find a new role or they get promoted within their existing company to be $1,600, their salary to be $1,600, they start paying back to BuildUp.
Yes.
How much do they pay back?
$100 per month. So basically right now, the whole community supporting us is pretty much paying the $100 per month for seeing the reports.
Right.
And we are asking them to join the same community, to be the peer, the same level with others. And the idea is this, like once you get that salary level, and we can't check it, you have to come back and tell us like, hey, I got this salary already. I'm ready to come and pay back.
So it's a trust system.
Yes, it's a trust system. And once you get it, you start paying $100 for 17 months. The cost of education right now is $1,700 US
per student.
But you can't pay all in one go.
Yeah.
You have to, was a contract, it's very specific. You have to pay $100 per month for 17 months. What is interesting though, while you come back and start paying $100, you can continue learning. Now you can enroll back as a roaming student, and I'll explain what is it. Was a roaming student to any other programs. Like you did product management, then you can do marketing, then you can do machine learning, then you can do something even more cool. And the idea is that at 17 months, it's not like you did it in 4 months and that's it, you're top, now go. It's more of you continue learning. And let me give you a vision so I can explain why they should do that. The vision is after 17 months, these people do not cancel that $100. And why? First of all, this will be the biggest and coolest IT community of Armenians worldwide. The second one, there will be like a best tutors and best education systems. We hire all the tutors from US and Europe. So this will be like the best materials you can continuously learn. But the third one, the most interesting one, it's called live case study based education. So you continue learning not only that marketing that is new for you, but also you continue learning new products that use the new topics and new methodologies, new technologies, and new tools on any new product. So every batch we will have around 20 products. And this number will not go more. It's very hard to find this mid-level people. It will always be the same level every year, twice per year. But those roaming students can continuously learn based on that product making. And that's kind of the vision here. So in the future, any senior level person in Armenia, so once we solve the problem with the mid-levels, can join and continuously learn with a $100 per month. And that's kind of the goal here. And our education will go that level in 2 years, and we will build something really, really big. In that sense that even you guys can join and learn something new because you don't need to do any product making. Somebody will do it and you will just read and see how it has been done. So you continuously grow.
Right. And You mentioned KPIs a couple of times. I want to ask about what your KPIs are, what your key performance indicators are. How do you measure the success of a student?
Actually, as I said, like a success would come from the users who will give a feedback.
Yeah.
And on Product Hunt is very easy.
That's a
people
great
can
one,
obviously share it. But also for me, the biggest success will be CEOs hiring their students.
Yeah, that's an important
And
one.
then like, actually coming back saying like, hey, I hired this person from
Yeah.
BuildUp and he's actually performing it.
Yeah.
And he's actually solving a hard problem for us. And that will be kind of a success indicator for me, at least, to continue this school.
Yeah.
Because if you understand, I designed it specifically that way. If students don't come back and paying that $100, it will fall apart. There will be no enough people just to support it for long enough.
Yeah.
So it have to be sustainable, and that's kind of the sustainability. Like the students actually finding the better job and coming back and paying $100 back, so we can continue building it.
Right.
And if that works and it is successful, then it will work.
Yeah.
That's kind of like
absolutely.
it's a very fair point. I don't want to spend my life on something that is not working as well.
Of course. Yeah.
And I'm not offering doing that anyone else.
Yeah. So you're wrapping up this cohort in mid-August, and your next one will start in September.
Exactly.
What's going to be changing from the first cohort to the second?
That's a greatest question. And that's a kind of $1 million question, because we're going to implement 3 new courses, which is going to be a Python Pro, practical data science, and machine learning. And machine learning, even 2 directions we're going to select. We're going to select signal design, image recognition direction, and NLP, natural language processing. Like anyone talking to robots is pretty much there. So basically, we want to design something even more high level.
Yeah.
And that was always my dream, actually, having some studentship and education where people can discover and design something awesome and new. I'm not saying innovative, and that's very different, but something really funny and interesting, because before this cohort, we could only accept problems that is solvable with like a normal product, digital products, right?
Yeah.
But in September, problem can be much more complex and solvable with machine learning and some interesting solutions that existing on the market. And that's our kind of the task. We want to grow that way, where this new trust is coming can give a really complex problems, and we can design something new.
So will the teams be growing with the new additions?
Yes.
So now it'll be an 8-person team, a 9-person
No,
team?
number of the people in the team will be the same.
Okay.
And why? It's more manageable number, 6 people, but it will be more teams. And we're planning to have 130 students
Wow.
and 18 teams. So
Wow.
it's like around, it's what we are doing is trying to separate. And for example, we have very successful product management, design, marketing, and sales. So we anticipate there will be more applicants for these programs. Machine learning will be new. We anticipate less people will apply.
Yeah.
So we will keep it in a balance. Like every new year, once per year, we will add more programs, but we will anticipate less people applying. But we will design something very interesting in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. When do applications open for the September cohort?
To start it in July.
In July. So students who are interested in applying should look out for
Exactly.
announcements in July.
And also, like, they should follow us on social media, because
Yeah.
we are giving a lot of stories and interesting reports on what's going on right now. We're totally transparent because we have to. We have this community supporting us, and then everybody can see in and through and see what we're actually doing.
Right.
We're not trying to hide after the marketing slogans and marketing shit. Like, we're really showing what's going on. We want to be maximum transparent. We want the people applying understanding what they get into, and also they have to commit time. This is not like in Armenia. Unfortunately, this is a problem everywhere in like post-Soviet countries where I paid money, then it shouldn't be that hard, right? Or I applied, that's it. Right? No, unfortunately, that's where everything starts, and it's not easy. And we make sure people understand this.
Yeah.
For example, we are adding something into the contract that says if you drop out on 3rd week, you pay penalties.
Okay.
Why? Because we are paying a lot of money for the tutors, and this position is very important, very expensive. It's all right that you graduate and then you can't find a job, but if you drop out, then you took somebody's place,
right?
And it will be a penalty there,
right?
So that's the whole
And you guys never see that money back until they start getting an increase in pay or a higher position.
We will make sure that it happens immediately after the graduation.
Yeah.
And obviously the community there exactly for that.
Yeah.
But if something is not working, so after 12 months graduation, if the salary do not go over that number, then it was free.
Right.
No need to pay us.
Right. I'm curious, in Armenia, from a work culture perspective, is the idea of an income sharing agreement, I know some other organizations have used it as well in the past, but is it accepted amongst junior professionals, or is it
People
something that
love
you
it.
have to,
Yeah, students love it. Unfortunately, this is coming from educational organizations themselves. Are you really sure that your education is working that way?
Right.
Can you do that? Because obviously those educational organizations are businesses, right?
Yeah.
You have to pay to make things work.
Yeah.
In our case, community pays right now.
Mm-hmm.
So we have this luxury to do that model at the beginning, and we fundraise, and obviously I have to say thank you to a lot of people who supported us, and obviously Poghosyan supported us at the beginning to make this happen. But in our case, we believe this education really will work.
Yeah.
We will make these people really strong and shiny, so everybody wants to hire them.
Yeah.
And that's why we believe it will work in a very mutual, beneficial way.
Mm-hmm.
We help you to get advanced, become a professional. You help us to grow this, like kind of not even paying for what you learn, but paying forward, because some new students will come and learn.
Do you think the income sharing agreement model can work in Armenia for other sectors?
Absolutely.
For example, I think in the U.S., I think there's even ISA models for nursing, for instance.
Exactly.
Yeah. What other sectors in Armenia could it work well for?
I think like if construction would adopt something like this, and then
Really?
it would be like it will work perfectly well, because there's a huge need of welders and stone people, but like nobody really teaching this.
Yeah.
And I understand why. It's super expensive to teach, guys. Like 80,000 drums per course per month is nothing. Who will teach that money?
Yeah.
Like, and number of classes is very important. If you have 30 people in a class, then it means like it's very low quality.
Right.
Right. And because the number per person is so small, the sum is so small, they have to do big classes, and then the quality is very low. We have to change this. Like a good quality class is up to 12 people, and good quality education costs like $2,000-$3,000. This course that we have 1,700, actual cost is 4,000. And same tutors teaching in Galvanize or General Assembly in US costs $6,000. So this is like a real bargain for them.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to pay this big number. But if they move to US, they happily pay. So why not paying here?
So a lot of your community right now is some really top people in Armenia's tech sector, from the top startups such as Crisp and Modelfront and others. Are you guys raising money right now to keep this going?
For September, we need $160,000 to pay the same tutors and also to hire new tutors and develop the programs.
Yeah.
But what we're going to do, I'm going to ask community, not just like CEOs and those top guys from all over the world joining, but the community here in Armenia. I know that people do not make that much money, but they can donate $100, right? I'm going to do a fundraiser in July, and I'm going to ask everyone, like, why don't you support this? Because if you support into the Armenia, this is the best way to support it. Because if you spend $100 on actually giving someone a fish, it's much better to teach someone to fishing, and that's kind of like importance here. I really want to ask them because of one important thing. I asked a lot of, apart from people who support us, ask the other part, like, why don't you support us? And you know what was the answer? We don't care about your people. We got this funding already, and we have to hire in San Francisco or worldwide. We don't need your product managers anymore. We don't need product managers in Armenia because we don't believe they can perform. And I want to actually make this a challenge for the people who in Armenia. Guys, these people do not want to hire you because they don't believe in you. Why don't you change this? Why don't you invest into the education that will change that?
Right.
Is that making sense? Like, I really want them, they have this challenge. They understand, like, to change the whole quality of life in Armenia is not about having a new PM. is about you actually investing in right things.
Right. Right. So you're looking to raise from all groups of people,
Exactly.
from engineers in Armenia's tech sector to the top executives and things like that. And can our listeners from the diaspora listening in, is there somewhere online they can go to donate?
Once we start, I will announce
It'll
it,
be
obviously.
online. Yeah, got it.
People will hear about us.
On the website right now, you can't become like a monthly contributor?
No,
Okay.
It's only invite only.
Got
and
it.
I'm selecting who to be invited. And to be honest, the conversion rate is not that great either. So I have done over 200 calls last 6 months and only 100 converted.
That's not bad, I think.
That's not bad, but I spend much more resources
Right.
actually reaching out
I see.
and
I see.
organizing the
Yeah.
call first.
Yeah. Okay, and Albert, our last question. Where do you hope to see BuildUp in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I wish this will be the biggest Armenian community supporting each other. You know what is interesting? I tell you something interesting about Product Hunt. We hacked Product Hunt. Normally, Product Hunt, if you are from Uzbekistan publishing on Product Hunt and all the IPs upvoting you in Product Hunt from Uzbekistan, they ban you like immediately. You can't do that. But because we're a very network nation all over the world, Product Hunt cannot ban us.
Right.
We hacked it was a community because all over the world, if you keep the right balance, not a lot of people from Armenia will vote up, but all over the world will vote up and with old accounts, then it works. It actually get you to product of the day. And we hacked it because we worked together. And there's nothing, it's like just one button click, right?
Yeah.
What I believe in 5-6 years, if we can create a community that cares about education in a very beneficial way, right? Cares about education because they can hire these people, right? That's very beneficial. You pay $100, but you hire someone. I believe this will be very strong community to solve many other problems. And we'll actually, we will never go the junior level education. We will always go to senior. I believe education changes. And you will never be like, hey, I am MIT graduate and I'm the best. No, that's not working anymore. I am a BuildUp alumni, and I am learning all of the new stuff. That's how it will work.
Okay, Albert, you're doing some important work, and I wish you luck with that. I hope in the future you'll come back on again to give us more updates on how BuildUp is going. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, guys.